great to have you here for this episode. Today, we're diving into a really unusual and provocative work, an adult coloring book called Fake President, a satire. It's not your typical coloring book, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's part political allegory, part dystopian sci-fi, and honestly part coping mechanism. The book imagines an alternate reality called the Divided States of America, or DSA, where a character named Donald Plump is president.
Right, and what's really interesting is how it uses humor, satire, and even art to explore some pretty serious themes about power, politics, and society. Plus, there's this wild backstory. The editor received the manuscript from a version of himself in a parallel universe. It adds this mysterious, almost meta layer to the whole thing.
That's such a clever framing device. Speaking of parallel universes, the book leans heavily on the multiverse theory. The idea that infinite versions of reality exist simultaneously, each with different outcomes. In this story, the DSA is one of those parallel universes, very similar to ours, but with key differences.
Exactly. And the author, who calls himself Paul Doggin, claims to be a resident of that parallel universe, writing to warn and inform readers in our world. It's like a metaphor for the many possible political futures we could face, depending on the choices we make.
I like that. The multiverse as a mental model for political possibilities. And the DSA's troubles serve as a kind of, quote, canary in the coal mine. A warning for what might happen if certain paths are taken.
So let's talk about Donald Plump, the anti-hero of this story. He's a caricature of a narcissistic, unethical, and destructive leader, born into wealth, lacking empathy, and driven by ego and self-interest.
Yeah, and his rise to power is fueled by exploiting ignorance, fear, and division. His campaign slogan, Make America Dumb Again, or MADA, is a sharp jab at anti-intellectualism and nostalgia for a less inclusive past.
That slogan really nails the tone, and Plump's disdain for the poor and homeless is brutal. He actually makes homelessness illegal under the guise of a beautification program. It's a stark example of how the book uses satire to highlight real social issues.
What's also fascinating is how Plump uses marketing tactics that basically hack the brain. He repeats simple slogans over and over to implant ideas, even if people consciously reject them. It's a commentary on how political messaging can manipulate public opinion.
And he's openly hostile to science, defunding research and promoting pseudoscience. Plus, he disregards the Constitution and norms, focusing instead on personal enrichment and consolidating power.
That's a big part of the political and social satire here. The book critiques the erosion of democratic norms and the rise of authoritarian tendencies. Plump's policies include amassing executive power without checks, defunding social safety nets, halting immigration except for the wealthy, and even using AI to purge government employees based on political loyalty.
Yeah, and the rhetoric he uses against immigrants, intellectuals, and minorities is divisive and inflammatory. The satire exposes how populism can exploit fear and misinformation to gain and maintain power.
It really echoes Lord Acton's famous warning, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Plump is like that guy in The Matrix offering a red or blue pill, but it's a bait and switch that leads to misery, except for him and his cronies.
That's a perfect analogy. Now, the meta-narrative is another layer worth unpacking. The editor, Paul Godin, receives this manuscript from his parallel self, Paul Doggin. It blurs the lines between fiction and reality in a playful but thought-provoking way.
And the editor's personal reflections add depth. His initial skepticism, his therapist's advice, and his view of the book as a small act of rebellion. It's both a creative expression and a coping mechanism for political trauma.
That's important. The book is described as 100% a coping mechanism for the author's roller coaster of emotions after the election of President number 47. It blends horror and humor to process trauma and desensitize readers to ongoing political chaos.
I really like the call to action embedded in the book, quoting Thomas Jefferson, "When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty." It encourages readers to consider their own small acts of rebellion against bullying and tyranny.
Yeah, it's a reminder of the importance of standing up for freedom, the Constitution, and democratic values. The book uses satire not just to entertain, but to provoke thought and inspire vigilance.
And the format itself, an adult coloring book, adds a layer of engagement and irony. It invites readers to interact with the content in a way that's both playful and serious.
Before we wrap up, some memorable details stand out. Plump's catchphrase from his reality TV days was, "You're canned." His approach to facts, "The truth is what I say it is." And the editor describes Plump's ego as the size of the Thanksgiving parade balloon.
Those details really bring the satire to life. They're sharp, biting, and memorable. Exactly what good satire should be.
So, to sum up, Fake President, a Satire, uses the multiverse and dystopian fiction to hold a mirror to our political realities. It warns about the dangers of narcissistic leadership, misinformation, and the erosion of democratic norms.
And it does so with humor, art, and a unique format that invites reflection and engagement. It's a reminder that satire can be a powerful tool for social critique and coping.
Absolutely. It's a complex, layered work that challenges us to think critically about power, politics, and our role as citizens.
Well said. Thanks for joining me in this conversation. Hopefully, it gives listeners some food for thought and maybe even a little inspiration to stand up for what matters.
Definitely. Until next time.